Juan, ¿por qué no viniste a mi fiesta el sábado?
Ah, perdón, es que hubo una reunión importante el sábado.
Hay, había, hubo. You'll hear and read these 3 simple words in Spanish all the time, and learning how to adopt them into your own speech will go a long way in helping you form good and meaningful sentences. So let's learn what these words mean, how we use them, and then let's practice a little bit together, shall we? ¿Qué les parece? Comencemos. What's up, language leaders? Welcome back to another video. My name is Erica. If you're new here, bienvenidos. My purpose here is to help you learn, love, and live the Spanish language naturally. If that sounds like your cup of tea, well, consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell so that you do not miss any future videos. All right, guys, so hay, había, and hubo all come from the verb haber. So here we see the verb haber in its unconjugated infinitive form. Now the verb haber is very special in Spanish because we can use it in a couple of different ways, and because of that we end up using it a lot. But today we're only going to focus on what is known as its existential form. So this refers to when we're using the verb to say there is, there are, there was, or there were. Okay, let's break it down. The word I simply means there is or there are. No, really, that's it. It really is that simple. There's nothing else you have to do with this word. You do not need to change it, no matter if you're talking in the singular, there is, or the plural, there are. There's nothing more to it than that. Example, hay un escritorio en mi oficina. Hay un escritorio en mi oficina. There's a desk in my office. Hay latas de frijoles en la tienda. Hay latas de frijoles en la tienda. There are cans of beans in the store. I'll also mention that these words stay the exact same, even if in English you would reverse the order. Like, is there? Are there? If you're asking a question, you're still going to use that same verb, I. Now, when we want to talk about the past and say there was, there were, well, it gets a little trickier, but only because we have more than one option. But it's still not hard. Now, both of the words había and hubo can mean there was or there were. So how do we choose between the two? Well, in order to understand the difference between había and hubo, it's helpful to have a little bit of prior knowledge about the fact that there are 2 main types of past tenses in Spanish. So we have the preterite and the imperfect. So we use the preterite tense when describing things that happened in the past at a particular time. They're done and over with completely. Now, the imperfect tense is used to describe what was happening in the past, perhaps describing the scenery of a situation, or to describe things that usually or habitually occurred. Okay, so we have those 2 differences there. Now, knowing that, let's go back to our 2 words, había and hubo. Now, había, again, meaning there was or there were, is in the imperfect tense. So we're going to use it to describe things that were happening in the past, to describe the scenery, like we said, to describe things that habitually occurred, and that kind of thing. Había is actually used far more frequently than hubo, so that's why we're going to start with this one. Había mucha gente en el parque. There were a lot of people in the park. So, when you say this, you're talking about a past event, yes, but you probably couldn't put a specific time on that. Hey, maybe there are still a lot of people in the park. You're simply describing the situation as you saw it when you happened to be in the park. So because of all of those reasons, we're going to use the había, the imperfect tense. Here's another example. Siempre había pan en la mesa. Siempre había pan en la mesa. There was always bread on the table. So now we're talking about something that habitually occurred. Maybe you're describing your upbringing and how your parents worked really hard to provide for the family. And as a result of that, siempre había pan en la mesa. Again, we're going to use the imperfect tense, había. Now the word hubo, even though it has the same meaning, there was or there were, this one is in the preterite tense. So we're going to use it only when we're describing something that happened in the past. It's definitely over. And because this is so specific like that, oftentimes you'll see the word hubo accompanied by a specific time period, like the day, the month, last year, or phrases like that. El sábado pasado hubo una cena en la casa de mis padres. El sábado pasado hubo una cena en la casa de mis padres. Last week, there was a dinner at my parents' house. This is an event that happened, it's over. We can use the word hubo. En menos de 8 horas hubo 2 robos. En menos de 8 horas hubo 2 robos. In less than 8 hours, there were 2 robberies. So we're describing a past event in which within an 8-hour period, 2 robberies occurred. Those robberies are not ongoing, they happen at a specific time. We're going to use hubo. El lunes hubo una tormenta muy fuerte. El lunes hubo una tormenta muy fuerte. On Monday, there was a very strong storm. The storm happened, it's over. Hubo. Again, just like with I, if you're asking a question or need to reverse the order of the was and the there, or the were and the there, and say, for example, were there any animals in the forest? Había animales en el bosque? You're still going to use había. Same thing for hubo. The word doesn't change, even if in English you would reverse the order. Now, just as with anything in real life and real speech, there can be some overlap between these two tenses. So sometimes it just depends on who's telling the story and exactly what they're trying to emphasize. So let's give you an example of that. Juan, ¿por qué no viniste a mi fiesta el sábado?
Ah, perdón, es que hubo una reunión importante el sábado.
Hubo una reunión importante el sábado. Why didn't Juan go to the party? Because there was an important meeting on Saturday. Here Juan chose to use hubo because that meeting happened on Saturday. It's over. It's done with. Let's take that same sentence and just change the context a little bit. No pude hablar mucho tiempo con Verónica el sábado porque había una reunión importante. Había una reunión importante. So I couldn't spend long talking to Veronica on Saturday because there was an important meeting. So we just said the same thing about there being an important meeting, and in both sentences we even specified the day that happened. So why hubo in one sentence and había in the other? Well, in this last sentence, I'm describing an event really as it took place. Maybe I'm telling a story and saying, you know what, I couldn't spend long talking to Veronica because there was an important meeting. I'm almost describing it as something that was about to happen. I'm like in the middle of the story as I'm describing it. And that's why in that one we used the word había. I hope this makes sense. Okay, so should little things like that make you just throw in the towel and say, I will never get this, forget about it? No, not at all. What should you do so that you can pick up on these little subtleties of the language? Use lots of comprehensible input. Oh, she done said it again. Yes, I said it again. You must expose yourself to lots of Spanish, lots of listening and reading at a level that you can understand, at least get the gist of what's going on. Because when you do that, you're going to see the words había, I, and hubo all the time, and you're going to pick up naturally on when they are used, and you will start to adopt that into your speech as well, with lots of practice. All right, why don't we practice a little bit so that you can get all involved up in here, and you are going to choose the proper word for each of these sentences. Why don't we create a little story about a bank robbery, let's say. All right, let's go. Fill in these blanks for me, please, using the word hay, había, or hubo. There's a problem. Un problema. Hay un problema. What is it? ¿Cuál es? Yesterday there was a bank robbery around here. Ayer, un robo a un banco aquí cerca. Ayer hubo un robo a un banco aquí cerca. You don't say. Are there any clues? No me digas. ¿Pistas? No me digas. ¿Hay pistas? Not a lot. The robbers used gloves. That's why there were not fingerprints. No muchas. Los ladrones usaron guantes. Por eso no huellas. No muchas. Los ladrones usaron guantes. Por eso no había huellas. There were a lot of witnesses present, but no one saw the robber's face. Muchos testigos presentes, pero nadie vio la cara del ladrón. Había muchos testigos presentes, pero nadie vio la cara del ladrón. I imagine that there are a lot of police officers working on the case. Me imagino que muchos policías trabajando en el caso. Me imagino que hay muchos policías trabajando en el caso. Yes, since it's a residential area, there is a lot of fear in town. Sí, como es una zona residencial, mucho miedo en el vecindario. Sí, como es una zona residencial, hay mucho miedo en el vecindario. Muy bien, chicos. Excelente. By the way, if you would like to listen to and read a story in Spanish that is about a bank robbery, then check out this video on the channel. I will end this by saying that in many places in Latin America, for example, here in Mexico where I live, you will likely very often hear the words habían with an N and hubieron when they are in sentences that are describing a plural noun. For example, habían muchas personas en el parque. This is so common. I'm quite sure that I have said it like this before just because I hear it all the time around me here in Mexico. But according to the Real Academia Española, the guys who make the Spanish rules and enforce them, they still say that this is incorrect. And the reason behind that is that when we're using the existential form of haber to denote the mere presence or existence of people or things, then it functions as impersonal. And impersonal verbs can't actually have subjects. And therefore, we're going to use había and hubo just like that in the singular, even if we are talking about plural nouns in that sentence. Now, I don't want you to think that the words habían and hubieron don't exist, because they do. We'll be talking about that in another video, so don't worry about it right now. I hope this has helped clear up how you can use hay, había, and hubo, and that you can now adopt that into your own sentences. I hope this has been helpful for you guys. If so, well, don't leave without telling me. Give me a big fat like, subscribe, hit that bell, and if you would like a full study plan that you can use and start adapting it into your routine right now, then download my Spanish Fluency Blueprint for a step-by-step guide and start accelerating your journey to Spanish fluency. I'll see you guys next time, but in the meantime, don't forget to go out and live your new language today. Bye-bye. All come from the verb. If you want to read about a robbery in a bank, that's why there are no fingerprints. Where am I going with this?